Today we will discuss about postmenopausal bleeding. Bleeding per vaginum after attaining menopause is called postmenopausal bleeding. A woman is said to have attained menopause if there is 12 months of amenorrhea after 45 years. This 1 year criteria is only for definition of the postmenopausal woman. But if the bleeding occurs even after 6 months of amenorrhea, we consider it as postmenopausal bleeding and she should be evaluated. Coming to the causes of postmenopausal bleeding, first and foremost, all types of malignancy should be excluded, especially malignancy of the genital tract, the cervix, uterus, and ovary. Rarely, it may be due to malignancy of the vulva and vagina. It may be carcinoma of the rectum. It may be seen associated with prolapse if there is a decubitus ulcer. The most common cause for postmenopausal bleeding is anal vaginitis or endometritis due to lack of estrogen. There may be polyps, either endometrial or cervical polyps. It may be also be due to drugs taken by the patient. Either the common drugs which causes postmenopausal bleeding are drugs used for hormonal replacement therapy, used in the postmenopausal woman. She may be on drugs like antiplatelets or anticoagulants. Sometimes she may have a pessary inserted for prolapse or an intrauterine contraceptive device may be inserted in her youth, which may be forgotten and may be the cause for bleeding. Rarely, it may be a bleeding PR due to bleeding piles and she may be mistaken it for a bleeding per vagina. Rarely, she may have a bleeding disorder which may be congenital or acquired. Acquired causes are ITP and then leukemia, lymphoma, etc. Every case of postmenopausal bleeding, irrespective of the amount or duration of bleeding, however slight the bleeding may be, sometimes she may have a spotting for a single day, but it merits evaluation. And remember, no woman with postmenopausal bleeding should be treated symptomatically without proper evaluation. So, how to evaluate a lady with a postmenopausal bleeding? First of all, we have to take a detailed history regarding any recent weight loss, loss of appetite, any history of mass abdomen or mass per vaginum, any alteration in the bowel habits, any history of myelina or bleeding PR, any history of discharge per vaginum, whether any history of drug intake, any history of intrauterine device insertion or insertion of a vaginal pessary, whether there is a history of any bleeding disorder prior to this episode, and for any family history of malignancy. A thorough general examination of the patient should be done. You have to look for any significant lymph node enlargement, especially supraclavicular nodes, axillary and inguinal nodes. The skin should be examined for any petechiae or ecchymosis, which will tell you about the possibility of a bleeding disorder, acquired or congenital. Thyroid should be palpated for any solitary nodule. Breast should be palpated for any discharge, recent retraction of the nipple, any pudgy orange over the skin, or any mass palpable in the breast. The respiratory system, there may be evidence of pleural effusion or consolidation. The abdomen should be examined for any mass. If there is a mass, you have to look for the character of the mass, any free fluid in the abdomen, and any enlargement of the liver and spleen. Examination of the external genitalia. Look for any mass or ulcer or any prolapse per vagina. Upper speculum examination is done to visualize the vagina and cervix. Look for any abnormal growth or ulcer or discharge in the vagina or cervix. If it is present, look its characters also. The cervix should be examined specifically for any bleeding to touch, loss of mobility, induration, and whether the size of the cervix is appropriate for its age or not. It may appear bulky or barrel shaped sometimes. All these are suggestive of a carcinoma cervix. Next, we go for a bimanual examination to know the size of the uterus, mobility, any adnexal mass, and for any deposit in the pouch or Douglas. A rectal examination will reveal the presence of piles, any mass per rectum. It also will help in delineating any deposit in the pouch or Douglas and looking for any parametrial involvement, whether there is any induration or infiltration of the parametry. If the cervix, any abnormality is suspected, had to go for a biopsy or a colposcopic directed biopsy depending upon the situation. If it appears normal, then you have to do a pap smear. Next, we have to go for a ultrasonographic evaluation, which may be a transvaginal ultrasound and may be combined with a transabdominal ultrasound also. In a transvaginal ultrasound, you can see the uterus, if it is a normal size, more clearly, and you have to look for the endometrial characters, the myometrium, and the adnexal pathology. The endometrium should be looked for the thickness, whether there is any irregularity or not, and whether there is any fluids. Myometrium for any lesions like myoma or any mass may be there in the myometrium, and adnexal mass for any cyst or mass. When the transabdominal, you have to look for the presence of ascites, any metastasis, lymph node enlargement, the liver and spleen, etc. If the endometrium is heterogeneous, or if the thickness is more than 4 millimeter, or if there is fluid in the endometrial cavity, it merits a endometrial aspiration biopsy. The normal endometrial thickness in a postmenopausal woman is less than 4 millimeter, and it should be homogeneous, described as a pencil line thickness endometrium. Hysteroscopy and biopsy of the endometrium is indicated if you suspect a localized lesion like a polyp, or if there is in the first round of examination there is nothing suggestive, but still there is recurrent postmenopausal bleeding. That is an indication for hysteroscopic examination and biopsy. The management of postmenopausal bleeding is according to the cause found out during the evaluation. If there is a malignancy, you have to manage it accordingly, and that site of malignancy and the stage of malignancy. And if you evaluate 100 postmenopausal women, you may get about 7 to 10% may be having a malignancy. The most common cause for postmenopausal bleeding is senile vaginitis or senile endometritis due to the lack of estrogen. A few may have an endometrial polyp which may need a hysteroscopic removal. And recurrent postmenopausal bleeding, even if there are no causes may be found out during evaluation, it merits a hysterectomy because we are afraid that something may be missing. Hence, she may need a hysterectomy. The most common cause for postmenopausal bleeding is senile vaginitis or senile endometritis. Clinically, the vagina may look very thin, glistening, and easily bruisable. And the senile endometritis sometimes even may lead to pyometra. If there is a pyometra, that has to be drained, and to treat it, it is due to lack of estrogen mainly, so we have to supplement estrogen. So here only the little amount of estrogen for the required time to alleviate the symptom is given. Usually we give local estrogen creams which may be applied in the vagina, and vaginal creams, estrogen creams may be applied twice in a week for a short course of time up to 3 months. Or in women who has not elevated by that, may be given oral hormones like estriol or conjugated estrogen for only for a short time to alleviate her symptoms. To conclude, any woman with a postmenopausal bleeding, the aim is to evaluate to rule out any malignancy, mainly of the genital tract, but rarely it may be extragenital, like a carcinoma of the rectum, thyroid, breast, bowel, etc. Only after thoroughly investigating, whatever may be the symptom, maybe it may be a spotting or on a single day, the postmenopausal bleeding, women should be evaluated thoroughly to rule out any malignancy. Only after ruling out malignancy, she should be given any drugs to alleviate her symptoms. Thank you.